Hit that like button and subscribe. Focus Daily TV. Support the channel. Hashtag Focus Daily TV. Today we're going to continue this series on talking about the laws of God. Yesterday we spoke about how we were placed into debt slavery once we turned our sight and our ears away from God. And turning our sights and our ears away from God made us deaf and blind to what was occurring to us. And then they immediately began to indoctrinate us with an educational system that was placed upon us by the very foreigners, money changers, and bankers that were attempting to disenfranchise us. Let's get into it. Leviticus 19, verse 14. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind, but fear your God. I am the Lord. So, once again, through the educational system, they place the biggest stumbling blocks in front of us by ideologically subverting us into a false history, a false reality, and indoctrinating us into the federal system, which is totally against God. Here on the Focus Daily TV show, we try to break down the laws of the Bible. Well, we are breaking down the laws of the Bible, but we try to represent that with various forms of media and information that's readily available on Google and to the public. We try to take the same information that they present to us, but present it to you in a new way, an eye-opening way, so that the truth may be known and we may be made free. Got a short video today as usual. The rigged education system. All right, let's go.
Rockefeller made sure to get the better end of the bargain. He would donate his great wealth. Rockefeller made sure to get the better end of the bargain. He would donate his great wealth to the creation of public institutions, but those institutions would be used to bend society to his will. Surprisingly, that the United States...
Rockefeller is indeed one of those foreigners that perpetrated a black Holocaust in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Him and his money-exchanging friends, J.P. Morgan, Carnegie, and the likes, came together and decided that it would be best, rather than completely annihilating the youth, but to raise them in a more acceptable way for their plans to make us, once again, debt slaves and servants to the money changers, the corporations, and the corporate entities.
A nation that had been mobilized by tracts like Thomas Paine's remarkably popular Common Sense, was a nation of readers with a remarkable 93% to 100% literacy rate. Before the first compulsory schooling laws in Massachusetts in 1852, education was private and decentralized, and as a result classical education, including study of Greek and Latin and a solid grounding in history and science, was widespread.
Previously, our best education came by following the laws and commandments of God. Yes, we had sciences and literature and things of that nature, but the foundation of all of that was the Word of God. But slowly they removed the Word of God as the foundation and placed themselves and their evil demonic deeds as the foundation of the American school system, and began to spread that same educational system throughout the world.
But a nation of individuals who could think for themselves was anathema to the monopolists. The oligarchs needed a mass of obedient workers, an entire class.
See, it was the Word of God that taught us to think for ourselves, quite the contrary of what they tell us today, how it brainwashes us. No, it gives us sight and it gives us hearing and makes us able to see the things that are occurring around us. But they knew that, so they slowly began to ideologically subvert us to their ways and their education and their gods.
In 1852, education was private and decentralized, and as a result, classical education, including study of Greek and Latin and a solid grounding in history and science, was widespread. But a nation of individuals who could think for themselves was anathema to the monopolists. The oligarchs needed a mass of obedient workers, an entire class of people whose intellect was developed just enough to prepare them for lives of drudgery in a factory.
Now, all of this is totally against the laws of God. As we just read, you should not place stumbling blocks in front of the blind or cursed to death. Being that we no longer could see who we truly were, we had became blind and deaf to the word and the laws of God.
Into the midst stepped John D. Rockefeller with his first great act of public charity, the establishment of the University of Chicago. He was aided in this task by Frederick Taylor Gates, a Baptist minister that Rockefeller befriended in 1889 and who would go on to be John D.'s most trusted philanthropic advisor. Gates would go on to write a short tract, The Country School of Tomorrow, that laid out the Rockefeller plan for education. In our dream, we have limitless resources.
Yeah, Frederick Gate, you on the hook. Right through the nose. Know what I'm talking about?
People yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hand. The present educational conventions fade from our minds, and, unhampered by tradition, we work our own goodwill upon a grateful and responsive folk.
And that tradition being the Word of God, the Bible. This one right here. Traditional. What we were raised on. Our true foundation. But thanks to this educational system, nowadays people don't even believe in God. We're going to roll on.
We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or science. We are not to raise up from among them authors, orators, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor will we cherish even the humbler ambition to raise up from among them lawyers, doctors, preachers.
With an asterisk on there, unless they're totally in line with the will of the foreigners. You understand that?
Politicians, statesmen, of whom we now have ample supply. Although Rockefeller's resources weren't exactly limitless, they might as well have been. In 1902, he established the General Education Board to help implement Gates's vision for the country school of tomorrow with a staggering $180 million endowment. The Rockefeller influence on education was felt almost immediately, and it was amplified by help from fellow monopolists of the era who were approaching the topic of philanthropy from the same angle. Although best known as a steel magnate, Andrew Carnegie's fortune started on the railroads transporting Rockefeller's Standard Oil around the country, and was greatly magnified by a lucrative investment.
That's it right now, because we really want to stick to the educational system. We'll speak more about the Railroad Commission and the true meaning of the railroads later. But until next time, Focus Daily, y'all. Hit that like button, subscribe. We out. Oh yeah, support the channel. #Focus Daily TV.